All right, so I will formally start us now. So again, welcome everybody. My name is Justyna Chmielewska, and I am very, very pleased to welcome Megan Scott to do a do-it-yourself Suncatcher workshop with us. This workshop is in collaboration with the Festival of Curiosity, and there's plenty more happening with festival this weekend. So after you have finished with us, make sure that you go and visit their website and see what else is there for you to participate in. But for now, I just want to ask everybody that you switch your screen to speaker mode, because it is really most important that you see Megan, because you will following Megan's instructions. Our chat is disabled for child protection purposes, but you are very welcome to make any comments, any observations, ask any questions through a Q&A, and we'll be happy to answer and address any issues or questions you may have, no matter how big or small they are. Megan has just read out the list of materials, so I hope you are all ready and good to start. So I'll pass it on to you, Megan. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Justyna. Hi, everybody. My name's Megan. I'm in Dublin, and I'm going to do a little workshop on making your own sun catchers. So maybe I'll just show kind of the types of plastic that I'm going to be using. It's mostly from like food items that I brought. So it's this kind of clear plastic, not very thick, kind of like this. And I'm going to be cutting it into circular shapes, a little bit like this. Also, I have some twine, or some plastic twine, but you can use any kind of string that you might have around. Another important aspect of it is dried flowers, which are looking like this. So I got a lot of different types. If you have something like tissue paper or candy wrappers or something, that would also work pretty well. Then scissors, cellophane or plastic wrap, and some markers as well. And I think that's all. If you have a hole punch, it's pretty useful, especially if the plastic is quite thin, but a scissors can kind of work as well. So I think that is it. I was inspired to do this workshop by the Edo in Colour exhibition that is in the Chester Beatty. I'm going to maybe be showing a few pictures from that exhibition, just as kind of a little bit of inspiration from the floral patterns in some of the materials, in the kind of patterns that I'm going to be doing. So yeah, I guess we can get started. So I'm going to take my first little bit of plastic, and I'm going to move the cameras down so that you can see what I'm doing with my hands. See you in a moment. So I'm going to take a piece of plastic like this and maybe a black marker, and I'm going to just draw a guiding circle so that I know roughly where to cut. If you have something circular, you could use it as a guide, or you could just freehand it. I'm going to draw it like so. Doesn't really have to be perfect. Most of my circles aren't, but it doesn't really matter. And now I'm going to cut into the plastic, and I'm going to cut out the circle. And I'm sorry about the noise of this, it might be kind of jarring. I'm going to cut on the inside so that I don't get that black line.
And just a reminder to everybody that if you're a little, just make sure that you have an adult cutting this for you and helping out, and take as much time as you need.
Yes, exactly. Thanks, Justyna. So should be left with something that looks a bit like this, probably a little bit hard to see at the moment. And this is going to be our first little sun catcher. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hole punch a little hole up at the top. I'm going to do this first so that I just know where the hole is, so that when I'm drawing, I won't end up cutting out a bit of my design. So I'm left with like a little hole. No, it doesn't help if I put my hand behind it for you to see, but a little hole at the top. If you don't have a hole punch, you could use a scissors and just create a small hole. I'll show you what I mean on a different one I prepared. What I'm doing with this one is I'm cutting what's kind of like a J shape. Okay, maybe there's definitely going to be a better way for me to show you this. I don't know if you can see that any better. But basically it's a little J shape so that there's like...
Megan, do you want to try against the blue of the hole punch? Because I think it's darker color and it might be easier. Yeah, that's better.
Oh yeah, there you go. You can see it there. So there's like a little hole, it's like a little J shape, and you can slide your twine into the hole after that. But if you have a hole punch, then you can use that. So actually, I have some colored paper. Maybe that would make it easier. Don't know if you can see that a bit better. The next thing I'm going to do is...
If you have even a A4 card or something that is darker, that probably would help a little bit.
I have...
Or large dark book cover or something like that. Obviously something that you won't damage.
Yeah, I'm gonna be drawing on it, so I don't want it to look too...
Or maybe if you have like what you call it, like a cutting mat.
Oh yeah.
They normally are green, so I think it might be good.
Can you kind of see that okay for now?
Yes. But do please let us know in Q&A if you have a problem seeing.
Yeah, exactly. That would be good. So next I'm going to take some of my tissue paper, my dried flowers, my dried leaves, and I'm going to start placing them around the Suncatcher, like so. And this is kind of the fun part, because you can just take a look, see what you think looks nice. You can rearrange them a lot. These are just some dried flowers I got from around my garden, around the area, in some parks nearby. And I put them underneath a lot of books for about a week, maybe 4 days to a week. And if you're using like bits of tissue paper, you could also cut them into small pieces. This is very delicate work because they will stick to your fingers sometimes. So if you have shaky hands like me, it might be harder. What you can also do if you have some markers handy is you can add your own little flourishes to, I'm making it just an abstract design for the first one, just to give you an idea. This marker is a bit too light. So because you're drawing on plastic, you're not going to get a you're not going to get a totally strong color, but that's kind of the point, because you want like the sun to be able to shine through it. So it's going to be a little bit see-through. And don't be afraid to use darker markers because they're going to come across a lot lighter on the plastic. Some markers like these also will smudge, and you can use that to your advantage. You could actually even smudge the design on purpose, like could be using it to make an almost painterly kind of pattern. But if you don't want that, you could use permanent markers, which won't smudge. So for instance, kind of like the marker that I used to draw the outline, if I wanted something that I really wanted to make sure was going to stay. The cool thing about this is actually I can move my pieces around because nothing is stuck down. And I've decided I think I want to make like this side green. I'm used to getting my fingers kind of dirty. Though, if you don't want to, you could use like a tissue or a piece of paper. So now I've made a kind of a green background. I think I'm going to draw some little leaf motifs. And then I'm going to reposition my flowers again to kind of overlap with a bit of that. I just felt like I needed a little bit of red, a little bit of deep color, so I put some there. And oops. And I think I'm kind of happy with this one, the way it is. So you can keep drawing and keep changing as much as you want. And then when you're kind of happy with the design that you have, you can stick these down with glue. I prefer to just use the cellophane. And then you can kind of take it apart again later in the winter, maybe when you're recycling your plastic. But basically you don't need any glue for this, which is what I kind of like about it. The cellophane will stick to the plastic and to itself, so it should hold everything in place. So what you're going to want to do is take a sheet of cellophane like this, maybe like twice the width, or a little bit less than twice the width. And I'm going to move this for a sec so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to cut out the cellophane with a sharp scissors. So if you're young, please ask your parents to help you with the scissors. And I'm being very careful when I'm doing this because cellophane is notoriously sticky. If you're not careful, it will just stick up into a ball into itself. So when handling this, you want to be pretty steady. So the way I like to do this is to lay my cellophane down beside it and then take up my piece gently so that it's in my hand, and then lay the cellophane over it like so. I do this really slowly so as not to make my flowers move around, and press it down. It should stick pretty immediately to the plastic that you're using. Then you wrap it around the back, and you can cut off any excess. Maybe I used a little bit too much. Kind of just wanted to touch a little bit off the back. Yeah, I definitely used way too much there, sorry. But it doesn't matter. So it will stick to itself really well. And it will kind of crinkle up a little bit on itself, which I think is really nice because, I'll cut off a bit more of this excess. Kind of gives the slight effect of like glass, which most traditional suncatchers will usually have incorporated glass into them, or beads. So it's kind of nice that it gives that effect without actually having to make something out of glass. So if you want to lay it down and press it down a little bit with your fingers, make sure it's flat and all tight. And you should be left with something a little bit like this that you can then move around. You'll have your design on it. So next, you're going to want to take your piece of string and decide on how long you want the string to be. I've got some nice pink twine here. I'm going to cut off quite a bit because what you can do, this is the kind of thing that you'd usually like make a good few of them. You could string them together, or you could just have them one by itself. So I'm going to cut about this much for now. And as you can see, I've covered over this hole So I'm going to need to, like, cellophane is very easy to make a hole in. You can like probably use your nail to make a little hole, or a pen, or the side of the scissors, just anything really, and you can poke a little hole so that your original hole is back open for your twine. And then you can just thread your twine through. You can either tie it, I would probably tie it, I'd put it halfway through and make a knot so that it stays being halfway through. Just that. Maybe double knot it. And you should be left with something that looks a little bit like this, that you can hang in your window and will catch a little bit of the sun. I'm going to make another one that I might, if you make another one, you can then put a hole in the bottom and the top, and you can keep stringing them along. You can make a few different ones, or you can make them all separately. I'm going to make another one, and I wanted to show a few images from the Edo and Colour exhibition, because I'm going to take a little bit of inspiration from that. So maybe just for a moment, I'll show you a few images. Some of the patterns that I particularly liked was how the trees are drawn. These ones here, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but I'm looking at the left-hand side, the green trees, and the shapes that they're using. I also really liked some of the patterns here. Any kind of repeating pattern like this, it's really fun to draw. And let's see if I can go up. There's also a lot of floral patterns, such as dragonflies.
Sorry, Megan, just somebody's asking whether wool will work for a string. It will, won't it?
Yeah, any kind of, well, yeah, wool would be great. Any kind of string will work, really.
Thank you.
In the materials of like the kimonos that are in many of the prints, there are a lot of like floral patterns and some dragonflies and things, so I'm going to keep them in mind as well as I make a few more of these little suncatchers. And I don't know if I have an example here. Kind of here, you can see it a little bit, the way that they do the sky with like, here it's quite faded, but sometimes it can be quite bold lines as well. You can kind of see it here with the pink. I thought that was interesting. So yeah, for the next Suncatcher, I'm going to use another bit of plastic that I cut out from a pot. And the reason I really liked this particular piece of plastic is you can kind of see it when the sun catches it. It has like it used to have a sticker on it, which you might find a lot of yours does as well. I took the sticker off and I tried to get rid of this, there you can see it there, the sticky kind of side, but I couldn't fully get rid of it. And then I realized that it kind of looks like a little sunset. So I really like the idea of working with what you have, and like at first I was like, oh no, I can't use this twin because I can't get it totally clean. And I'm like, actually, it's kind of better the way it is, and it's given me an idea for making like a little sunsetty type of scene. So gonna cut off some edges to make sure all the edges don't have anything jagged over, but they're nice and smooth. Yeah, they're good. So the next thing, we're going to run through all the steps again. First, I'm going to hole punch a little hole in the top, which is going to be right here. This basket is kind of thick, so maybe for this one I'll do it the other way in case people don't have hole punches as well. And I will cut in fact, I'm going to draw what I'm cutting because then you can actually see it really well. I wouldn't suggest drawing it because I'm going to end up with a black mark on mine, but for the sake of showing it, I'll draw what I'm cutting. Actually, a better way to describe it would be like a backward 6. So that is what I'm cutting out. I'm going to cut a line down and into a little circle so that later I can slide my twine in and tie it, and it should be fine. And it should the cellophane should also help to hold it in place, so it shouldn't go anywhere. There. You can see that there. Maybe I can rub. Yeah, I can kind of rub the black mark off, actually. That's good. So I think I'm going to focus a little bit more on color first. If this is my little sun, I'm also, if you're doing anything like this as well, I would suggest drawing on the side that isn't sticky, obviously, because it'd be easier. So this is the more smooth side. First, I'm going to take a little bit of blue. I'm going to take a blue marker, and I'm going to color in the top of mine blue. Then I'm going to take a yellow marker. I'm going to color the next part of my sky in yellow. It's a very simple, kind of stylized way of doing a sky, but you can also blend it if you want. And I think for my sun, I'm going to make it a little bit dramatic and have it be red. Now I'm taking a look at my flowers and my tissue paper, and I'm seeing if what might fit nicely into this work. Quite like this one. This was a purple flower that when I pressed it, it became it started to lose its color, but I think it actually it looks really nice. I really like that about flower pressing as a sort of as a craft, because you never really know exactly what they're going to look like when they get completely pressed. So that can be fun. And when you're making pieces like this, it can be good to take some time to look at your piece and try to balance out the colors. So if you have a lot of like really light colors, try to add in like pops of deeper color. Also have a think about complementary colors. There's no rules when it comes to these things, but it's good to think about and to know. I'm going to make it a bit more cartoony. I'm going to add some green towards the bottom, maybe kind of color it all in green, and then do some patterns over the top of it when I've given it a chance to dry a bit. I put down my flowers first as well before I started coloring in the bits that I want green, because I don't necessarily want the green to be behind the flowers, because you still kind of want the sun to shine through and catch those things the way they are. But you could also have them over the green if you wanted, or over a color. You could even color in your leaves if you wanted to. Might be interesting. Or your petals, I mean. I'm going to smudge out some of the marker lines. If your parents are here, I'm sorry for getting your kids' fingers full of marker. I know my niece's hands are always full of marker marks. And next I'm going to take my black, and using a little bit of inspiration from the pattern that I really liked in one of the images I've shown. I noticed that the pattern was kind of like the sand on that image. I have a little drawing of it here to remind you. It looked a bit like this. So I'm going to draw that on my kind of landscape part of my image as well. Not with that marker. And if you're having any trouble drawing on the plastic, depending on the types of markers, they can sometimes work really well or sometimes not work as well. So a tip is to kind of draw by dots, by like dabbing, and that can make it a bit easier, make it look a bit better. Going a little bit quicker than you would necessarily have to, just so I can make sure. Oh, to keep an eye on time, yep. Because I wanted to do one last one if I have time. So when you're happy with the design that you have, and I quite like this one, so I'm going to again take a piece of cellophane, maybe just do it, yeah, because if you do it around about the same size as what you have, then the top and bottom will be enough to wrap around. It's a mistake I made last time, too much. And then cut it out, or ask a parent to do so with a sharp scissors. And I'm even going to cut this a little bit because I don't need quite this much. So I'm going to cut a little bit off the end here. And like before, I'm going to take my piece up in my hands first. And this one has stuck to the paper a little bit, sorry. And I'm going to take my cellophane and drape it over it. If you have little crinkles in it, that's kind of okay. It's better than moving it and ending up moving your design. Again, as I said, like the little creases and the little crinkles can tend to look like glass and can be quite nice, so wouldn't worry about that. And now you have your second little Suncatcher. Again, you can take a pencil or what have you and make a hole in the plastic. Should be pretty easy, just like so. And take a little bit of twine. And you can tie it like before. You should be left with something that looks a little bit like this.
Thank you all very, very much for your participation. I hope you enjoyed this workshop with us and the Festival of Curiosity. Again, if you could share your images with us, we would very much like to see them. I have put the email address to send us the images to us online. So it's chesterbeattyonline@cbl.ie. We would very much like to see what you have created. And please remember, as always, there's plenty more workshops on the Chester Beatty's website. We have many more coming up in August. So please visit chesterbeatty.ie and check out what's coming up. And again, thank you so much. Enjoy the weather, and we'll see you at our future events. Bye.